We've come to the Glasgow district of Govan, famous amongst other things for its shipbuilding and for its historic church. And we're here to meet Alex Rex and Lavinia Blackwall. And they were together in a band for 10 years called Trembling Bells, a folk rock band, which really blew my socks off when I first heard them in 2008. They came apart and now they're back together collaborating again, and they're going to take us on a journey, not just in this historic part of Glasgow, but to an artistic community outside of town. But we're going to begin in the oldest surviving churchyard in Scotland, which is where I'm standing now. Alex, Lavinia, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you here.
Likewise.
Alex, just tell us about this extraordinary church that you've brought us to. Why have you brought us here?
Well, it's a real jewel in the crown of Govan, where I've lived for about 25 years. Govan has quite a bad reputation in some ways. It's like where Rabsy Nesbitt was filmed, if you'll cast your mind back. But there are a lot of cultural highlights, and they're quite hard to find sometimes, but this is really one of them. So
It's a really historic place, isn't it?
yeah, it's been a site of worship it dates back to the pre-Christian period. It was like a place of worship that's about 2,500 years old. So
And if we go in, do you think we'll see some of the relics of the history here?
yeah, it's a site of archaeological interest, and there are these kind of pre-Christian Celtic hogback stones, I think they might be Viking actually, that were found in the churchyard here where we stood.
Oh, let's get in. It's a big old church, this. I mean, I imagine that a lot of this is quite Victorian, this building that we're actually in now. But here, it looks as though these strange sea animals made of stone have come crawling into the church. They look like armadillos, don't
They
they?
do. It's a little bit like that film Cocoon as well. I don't know if you know the one. Obviously, that's a bit of a...
But in fact, they are burial stones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're called hogbacks, and there's some debate as to whether they actually represent Viking houses or whether they are actually creatures or
Upturned ships.
upturned ships as well. Yeah, obviously the Viking houses were quite upturned ship shapes, weren't they?
I'm delighted to say we're joined also by Fraser Cappy, who works here at the church and can tell us a little bit more about these stones.
Yeah, so it's something that not that many people know about, but Govan actually holds one of the largest collections of early medieval sculpture in the UK, and it's because it was never really held in state care. It's always been looked after by the community. But there's about 32 monuments in the church just now, and we keep finding new ones in the graveyard, and they really relate to the kingdom of Strathclyde, a kind of pre-Scottish kingdom. And the monuments all date between the 9th and the 11th centuries. And we've got standing crosses, what's left of them, burial monuments, Viking hogback gravestones, and a monumental sarcophagus that's related to Govan St Constantine.
Just right here, there's something called the Sunstone, with a swirling carving at the top of it and then an interlaced pattern at the bottom. But it's only one of many. It's only one of scores of these stones lining the walls and standing freely here, beautifully displayed and lit.
Yeah, the Sunstone's one that really captures people's imagination. It's a kind of local nickname. People thought it looked like a kind of solar symbol, but if you look closely, you can actually see that there's snake heads coming out from each of the spirals as well. And snakes are something which feature right across the collection. But there's all sorts of little twerks and tweaks round about the collection, so you really need to pay attention and look closely at what's hidden in the sculpture.
I went to school in a place called Repton down in England, and that was the kingdom of Mercia, so there was a lot of Viking rule in that area as well, and they have them in the churchyard there also.
Oh,
which
really?
is quite fascinating. Yeah.
Interesting connection. But you recorded a video in here, didn't you, for
Yes.
your song, Christ's Entry into Govan.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience.
It was a really great experience. We were all dressed in various kind of colourful regalia, and we were getting kind of heckled in the street as we were proceeding down the main street here in Govan. And the title of that song was inspired by the James Ensor poem, Christ's Entry into Brussels. And I guess it just had a lot of personal reverberations and ricochets of cultural things in the wider world that inspired me, and then tried to kind of internalize them and transplant them to Govan, which is also a place of great inspiration to me over the years.
What was it like to sing it in here?
Oh, I love singing in churches. The natural acoustics in a church building are unsurpassable, really. I was kind of brought up singing in churches and choirs, so it's kind of my heritage and it's where I feel really at home.
So you've got a classically trained voice?
Yes, yeah.
So do you sing opera and things like that?
I studied early music, sort of Baroque. That was my kind of favourite kind of passion. So I did early music at the Guildhall in London. But I haven't really followed it. I've ended up doing my own thing. But I do still love singing that kind of stuff when I can.
I used to go down and watch Lavinia in London do her studies and that kind of thing. And I had no interest or no comprehension of that music. And then just seeing her do it, it was so revelatory. It all started to make a lot more sense, and how the harpsichord interacted with the voice and this kind of phantom scaffolding kind of propping up this extraordinary kind of soaring voice was great. And so we started to incorporate a lot of her skills into the band that we were doing at the time.
Trembling Bells.
Yeah,
definitely. No, I remember hearing it, and it was a completely unique combination of your amazing voice and then the electric instruments and so on. It really, I said earlier, blew my socks off when I first heard it. It was really amazing. I wonder if you'd sing for us in here.
Sure.
Would you do that? It's
Yeah,
quite early in the morning for singing, but you feel up to it?
We'll have a go, certainly. I've not warmed up, so...
maybe a bit Shane McGowan and Kirsty McCall.
All the lives I have led, they have led me to this. I abandoned the plan at the age of 19, and I acted on impulse to contract new skin. In the land of my birth, I'm a long way from home. So it's drain your glasses dry, place faith into the night, to deliver silver visions of an alphabet of light. To me, she was an instant, but to her, I was eternity. 7 years a teardrop, and 7 years the sea. Inebriated children of the Mediterranean, they knew nothing of curses, they knew nothing of cures. So I posted a hex on a dress that she wore, but couldn't cure sadness with bottled liqueurs. So it's drain your glasses dry, place faith into the night, to deliver silver visions of an alphabet of light. To me, she was an instant, but to her, I was eternity. 7 years a teardrop, and 7 years the sea.
What an amazing thing to hear that sung in this acoustic and sung in this building. Tell us a little bit about the song.
It was one of the first songs I ever wrote, and perhaps slightly, again, kind of enthralled to like Lavinia's early music background, somehow kind of mutating into some of my other interests in like traditional folk music. And I think I was probably reading quite a lot of like Arthur Rimbaud poetry around the time or something. So I think there's a kind of exploratory lyric, the meaning of which is quite obscure to me, but it feels good.
It feels good to me too. Feels amazing to hear it here. But we're going to move on because we're going to go to a community outside of the city. Just tell us a little bit about where we're going, Lavinia.
So we're going to go to the magical kingdom of Carbeth, which is a beautiful area just outside Glasgow. It's been bought out by the people of Carbeth, and it's a cooperative ownership of the land.
It's like a hutting community.
Yeah, hutting community. Alex has got a hut there. His parents have got a hut there, and just recently I managed to get a hut there through Alex's parents, and knowing people in the community, and was in a position to be able to buy a hut, so I feel really, really lucky to now be one of the hutters as well.
I can't wait to go and explore it. I mean, it sounds like the most amazing place, and it's played a part in your musical life as well, hasn't it? Because you named one of your albums after it.
Exactly, yeah. The song that we just sang, that's the final track on the album Carbeth. So it's very much imprinted on our creative world and our personal lives, and it's very much kind of double helix through our very kind of being in a way.
Let's go. I think there was a cuckoo just singing here. We've arrived at Carbeth, outside Lavinia's hut. Just tell us about your hut and what it's like. I mean, what sort of accommodation have you got here?
Well, it's a bit like a TARDIS, actually. It looks small, but once you go inside, there's quite a lot going on. It was owned by a couple who had it for quite a while before us, and there's still quite a lot of their detritus in the hut. Well, I'd say detritus, artefacts or things that are part of their lives. Some of it knickknacks, some of it we've kept, some of it we've still to get rid of, and some of it has been removed.
Do you have a sitting room and a bedroom?
Yeah,
or?
so there's a sitting room area, it's kind of open plan, kitchen area, then there's a kind of what used to be the main bedroom bit, which is now a kind of guest bedroomy bit, and then we added on a new bit, which is another bedroom, and then there's a little bathroom as well, where Marco's kind of put together a rudimentary shower arrangement, which is interesting. So,
Alex, what's the history of this place? When did it start?
Basically, its kind of origins were for the nearby town of Clydebank, to have a place for the people that lived there to come just to get out of the city. And I think that it kind of escalated around the time there was like a blitz in Clydebank during the Second World War, and that kind of intensified people's need to get out of the city and come to somewhere that was like a refuge. People are able to construct like tents on site, and then they kind of morphed into more permanent dwellings that you can see today. And Lavinia reminded me the other day that people would walk from Clydebank, which is probably a 10-mile walk.
yeah, something like that, maybe 8 miles.
And they carry like a single brick each time, and then the next time they come, they bring another brick, and they just keep kind of adding around these tents to create like a shell around it that was slightly more permanent.
So how big is the site? Is it quite extensive?
Yeah, it's 90 acres.
And who owns it?
It's owned by the community, so every hutter who has a hut has a stake in the land.
What brought your family here, Alex, in the first place?
It was a friend of mine had seen an advertisement in a local health food shop in Glasgow, hut for sale, and then he bought that hut for like really kind of peanuts compared to what they go for now. And I used to work for him at a record shop in Glasgow, and he wasn't really cut out for the hutting life because it's quite hard work, there's quite a lot of maintenance required, and I think he quickly found out that it wasn't sustainable for him. So he kind of doubled the price of it and sold it to my parents within about 6 months.
How long ago was that?
That was about 20 years ago.
Right, so how old were you when you first came here?
I was in my early 20s, I'm 42 now, so yeah, let's say 22.
Right, okay. And your parents had it for a long time, did they?
Yeah, I knew immediately that my mum particularly would just be like very enchanted by the place, and it turned out that she was, and so they live in Leeds, but they would come up as regularly as they possibly could to maintain it and be here as much as possible, because there's something just really draws you in, this place.
And what sort of people are in the community?
Oh, there's all sorts of people. You've got artists and musicians, you've got people that come from work, who work in the town, and you've got people that have been coming here for years and years and years. You've got some people that are diehard socialists that have been coming here for years.
And so the communality of it is part of their motivation, presumably.
Absolutely,
the sense of community and the sense of shared ownership.
For sure, yeah. And I think it's quite a delicate kind of balance that's here, Obviously, because the land's been bought out, people are investing more in their huts, so the huts are becoming more valuable, and so people are seeing them as an asset now. And so the demographic of people that are buying the huts has changed. So
it's not being gentrified, is it?
Well...
You could say that,
one could say that, yeah. I mean, I don't know, I'm probably part of the problem because I bought a hut about 4 years ago, but, you know, for quite a substantial amount of money. And I could only do that because I was trying to buy a house and that fell through. And I thought, well, do you know what? This is better than a house. I would rather have this place than a house.
Why?
Well, it's off-grid. It's in beautiful surroundings. Every part of your day that you're doing to make the hut work is a joy, really. It's like, you know, you get wood for the fire, you grow vegetables, you garden, you walk around in the morning surrounded by birdsong. There's the community feel as well. I've got Alex just up the way and we often hang out, and that's fun as well. You know, it's lovely, It's beautiful.
I think that the huts are really personalised and they're really created in their owner's image. So it's an ongoing creative project which doesn't really have a kind of end point. It's like it's constantly developing. And when Lavinia and I were first hanging out, and what characterised the first like 10-15 years of our relationship was very much like music focused. But since investing more time in this place, I think we've both like divested our creative energy into this, which feels like a great synthesis of our lives and our passions and our creative worlds that's more kind of hand in glove with our living environment, which is to me a much more beautiful kind of holistic creative project.
Can we go into the hut?
Of course, yeah, and you come. So I always kind of open the door with a very slight sense of trepidation, wondering if a creature has been in my absence, because that's happened before, so we'll see.
What sort of creatures?
Well, it's hard to know. Maybe a rat.
Okay.
I don't mind mice so much, but there was definitely a rat in here once. I'd had some birdseed in here in a drawer, and it had found its way in, torn the whole thing to pieces, and yeah. But since then, I found out where they were getting in, so.
You've blocked up the holes.
Blocked up the holes. Hopefully, we've not had any since. Fingers crossed, touch wood.
So it's made of a brick at that end, I see, but mostly wood, isn't it? This hut.
So I think this bit that we're standing in here was the original hut, and I think this bit here on the left has been added on.
Like a conservatory or extension.
An extension, yeah, and this bit here was an extension as well.
And you've got a rather nice wood-burning stove there in the...
Yes, so that's really crucial because obviously during the winter months it's absolutely Baltic, so it gets really cold up here. At winter it can be sort of -6.
And not much insulation in these walls, I wouldn't have thought.
I think there is some, but it's not modern insulation. So.
It's probably mainly insulated by wine in the winter.
Yeah.
And you've got a fine collection of horse brasses here.
Yeah, so these were left by the previous owners and I quite like them, so I've kept them.
Yeah, they're up along the ceiling there, but also next door in the extension I can see some more.
Yeah.
And then another collection of lamps hanging from the ceiling. So is there any electricity in here, or is it...
No, it's completely off-grid. So we have a solar panel on the roof which has a trickle down to a battery which you can do your phones off and things like that. Then we have a Jackery power station. Other brands do exist, which is really handy for running a TV or... you know, anything really,
like a keyboard, for
a
example.
keyboard or a lamp, just have a bit of light. But really, we don't watch the telly much. It's only when it's really wet and cold and there's nothing else to do. But yeah, you wouldn't really be watching the telly here much.
And have you got a kitchen arrangement? Oh, it's back here, isn't it? Yeah.
Lavinia's a wonderful cook as well.
This is actually a better kitchen than the one in my house. So it's got more space and it's more tidy. I always try and leave the place reasonably tidy so that you come here and you're kind of away from the mess. So that's nice.
It's very tidy.
This Scarface, that wasn't mine, but we've kept it.
The poster for the film Scarface.
Yeah. The previous owner had a baseball bat in here as well and a Union Jack flag, which I've kind of got rid of. There's still an air rifle by the wood-burning stove there.
And you've got curtains as well to keep the drafts out.
Yeah, so they're good for separating. This opens into a bed here, so if someone wants to stay over, this can be a separate bedroom for them. Here we've got a little bathroom. Marco's a pretty dab hand at plumbing, so he managed to put in a pipe through here and put a sort of shower.
He's multi-talented.
He's
a musician as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very, very practical actually. We've kind of put this together so you can have a shower, but you have to have the window open because there's not a proper exit for the gas there, so slightly hazardous carbon monoxide.
Would this be a place to sing a song by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do it in here or outside?
Well, actually, I was thinking outside might be quite nice because it's a beautiful sunny day, and Marco's out here, so you can come and meet him. He's my partner.
Oh, your partner, right? Yeah. Okay, your partner in music and in life.
Partner in music and in life, and soon to be husband.
Oh, congratulations!
If all goes to plan.
When's the wedding?
May the 24th.
Oh, right, brilliant.
So here he is.
Hi, Marco.
How you doing?
Great to see you.
Yeah.
It's all set up out here. You've got. What are you playing there?
It's the bouzouki.
Yeah. And we've got a guitar and we've got a keyboard.
Yeah.
You're all ready to go?
Yes.
What are you going to sing for us?
It was the first song that we ever wrote together here when we were staying up at Alex's hut.
At his brother's hut. It was his brother's hut at the time. Yeah. It was freezing cold. It was -6 outside, and we had to go to Asda to go and get more fuel for the fire because we couldn't survive. And it was going to be called The Coal Is Coming Soon, but we changed it to The Cold Is Coming Soon. So
It's not at all appropriate today because it's a really hot day
it's a
today,
really
isn't
hot
it?
day.
But,
No, seemingly the climate has changed here forever.
but I'm going to think myself into a cold frame of mind while you're singing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice one. 2, 3, 4.
Wednesday's no different from Sunday morning. The frost is heavy hanging in the air. Running low on dreams and summer visions. The cost of keeping warm is hard to bear. The cold is coming soon. The cold is coming soon, but it's not meant to be. It's nice to see the gate is safely open. The leaves reflect the sparkles of the moon. I'm not one to judge these formal footsteps. Wear those boots, the cold is coming soon. The cold is coming soon. The cold is coming soon, but it's not meant to be. Sitting warm and cozy by the fire, the wine is haunting phantoms of desire. Friday's no different from the last one. The last one left you wait the week before. Saturday's a train that's late in leaving, and I won't leave this platform Sunday soon. The cold is coming 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 soon, but it's not meant to be.
Fantastic, with birds on backing vocal. You hear the birds in the background. That was absolutely wonderful. Listen, I'd like to stay here all afternoon, but I think we can go on a bit of a walk now to Alex's cabin. So will you come with us, Lavinia?
Yeah, fantastic, thanks.
And we'll leave you to soak up the sun, Marco.
I'll pack the gear away, thanks very much.
Lovely to see you. Thanks a
lovely
lot.
to see you, yeah.
Alex, we've heard a little bit about Lavinia's route into music, but what about your route into music? Did it start in your childhood?
Well, I began life as a drummer, really, and it was just an excuse to get out of a physics class that I had at school at the same time, which corresponded with a drum class that I could take. So it wasn't that I had any great aspirations to be a drummer or anything at the time, but then as soon as I started it, I thought that this is how I want to spend the rest of my life. It seemed...
Well, it just took to it naturally.
Yeah, it really revolutionised my attitude to music. I guess because in many ways the drums aren't, very foregrounded in conventional musical setups, but I always had a lot of ideas and not a lot of ways of expressing it. But it was kind of in the 90s, and there was a lot of drum and bass and electronically generated rhythms going on. And I always thought that drumming, that really impacted the way I played because things were so metrically precise on a drum machine. I looked for more internal kind of rhythms, and I always thought it was the same relationship that photography had on painting. With the Impressionist painters, looked for kind of internal imperatives to interpret the subject.
So you wanted something more organic and human than the drum machine.
Yeah. So that kind of attracted me to folk music and jazz music and things where the rhythms are slightly more elastic or implicit and less regimented.
So what age would you have been when you took up the drums?
I was about 13, 14.
And where were you living at that time?
I lived in Leeds.
Right, and how did your mum and dad react to having a drum kit in the house?
Well, they've always been supportive. So yeah, I'm very lucky in that sense. I was kind of into, as I say, quite quickly into folk music. I remember going into a local charity shop and finding like a Blue Label Topic LP of sea songs and sea shanties by Ewan MacColl and Bert Lloyd, and it had like the Watersons on it, and that was a totally kind of revelatory moment that really kind of changed my life.
Why do you think it struck such a chord with you?
It was mainly because hearing the Watersons for the first time, so it was people singing in my personal dialect, growing up in Leeds, people with a really strong Yorkshire accent, and there was just something so profoundly moving about like four voices together with that familial quality, and it just sounded as if they'd just risen right out of the landscape itself, like they were kind of chiseled in granite and they'd risen out of the landscape, and it added a kind of hallucinatory kind of wash to the landscape that I'd grown up in, because it forced me to reimagine the very fabric of my own environment as something that was kind of shrouded in kind of folk myth. So it seemed as if I was being plugged into something that was very ancient but also very familiar.
And it must have been quite unusual in those days for someone of your age to be going on that journey.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't get a girlfriend until I was in my 30s. It was a very unpopular course of interest that I was pursuing, but it was just something that I couldn't really deny.
And you came across Shirley Collins, I think, and she made a big impression on you.
Yeah, that was another kind of huge kind of godhead in my personal journey through music, Shirley Collins' music. And I guess it was that kind of intersection between early music, pre-Renaissance music, and traditional folk music, and it had this kind of incredibly imaginative quality and in the arrangements. I always marveled. I mean, I love the field singers, the traditional kind of voice of the people style recordings, but to take that as the source material and then extrapolate the arrangements that Shirley and Dolly Collins were providing just seemed like really visionary, So that was something that really appealed to me.
So did you start to collaborate with other musicians then? Because a drummer on his own is not necessarily a going proposition, is it, in terms of gigs?
Yeah, it was actually really hard to find people initially that had anything like the same kind of passion for that kind of music that I did. There's Alastair Roberts in Glasgow, who was very supportive and has a great knowledge of traditional music. But aside from that, it was just kind of piece by piece. I started to meet Lavinia and then some of her friends, and they were coming at it more from the kind of 60s folk revival of the Incredible String Band and slightly more the kind of cosmic psychedelic kind of side of things.
So Lavinia, how did you get into that kind of music, having an early music background?
I suppose that what drew me to early music was the kind of strange harmonies and I love fifths. I've got a thing about fifths in music. And I always feel like early music has got a slightly Eastern feel to it. I suppose I was drawn to people like the Incredible String Bands. It kind of has this wonderful otherworldly sound. I was introduced to them through a friend who played me them, and for the first time when I heard them I actually felt as though I was walking through a magical wood, and I could smell incense in the air, and I could imagine these beautiful floridly dressed pipers going through and calling me. It was
So the aesthetic was important as well, the way that they dressed?
Well, yes, I think so. I think the whole kind of package for me was just like a dream come true. I was like, where have these people been all my life?
Make me an offer I can't refuse. Play me a game that I'll never lose. Show me the secret to happiness. Tell me a story I won't forget. And you keep me away from the dark. Oh, you keep me away from the dark. Switch off the news and
long time ago. In my reflection it starts to show. Please hold my hand, 'cause I need a friend. Don't turn away till we reach the end. And you keep me away from the dark. Oh, you keep me away from the dark. Oh, you keep me away from the dark. Oh, you keep me away from the dark. You keep me away from the dark.
And then you met Alex.
And then I met Alex.
How did that happen?
He was at one of my gigs. I was playing with a band I used to be in called the Pendulums, and he'd attended the gig, and I met him there, and we became friends. And
I think we started talking about the young tradition.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just very hard for me to like find people who knew that much about traditional unaccompanied folk singing, and Vinny was into the young tradition and Peter Bellamy and things like that, so that's what united us.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned Shirley Collins, and I actually went down to visit Shirley Collins when I was in my early 20s, like getting the train from Glasgow to Sussex, just to kind of find her. And
Well, did you just knock on the door?
well, she was giving a talk. It was kind of before she started to make music again. She was giving a talk in her local pub.
Hang on a sec, cyclist coming through.
She was giving a talk in her local pub on traveller culture in Sussex. So yeah, I went down and visited her, and we became friends. And I did a similar thing with Anne Briggs, where I kind of went to visit her in Argyll and stayed at her house, and we did some music together. And I kind of befriended Mike Watson as well. And it just seemed to me like, because I didn't know that many people who were actually interested in that music, and it had such a kind of huge impression upon my life. And as I say, it kind of helped reanimate the very landscape itself and almost kind of imbue it with some kind of heroic mythological quality, that these people themselves kind of seemed like they were from myth somehow. And I guess I had to kind of meet them and try and kind of go on these pilgrimages to find them, and just to kind of, I don't know, just like synthesize my very lofty, imaginative kind of interest into something that was slightly more human. And
were they welcoming
connected.
when you first encountered
Yeah,
them?
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I ended up staying at Anne Briggs's house, and we'd listen to her classic kind of Topic album together while having a little drink. And yeah, Shirley Collins invited me subsequently to drum on her records, and I used to call Mike Watterson quite regularly, and he'd like sing down the phone to me ideas that he'd had for new material and things.
That sounds absolutely idyllic. I mean, it sounds rather wonderful that
Yeah.
you formed those relationships. And presumably you were shaping your own musical identity at that time. You know, how did that lead into Trembling Bells? Which I should say, by the way, when I first heard Trembling Bells, I was trying to work out why it struck such a big note with me, and I think it must have been because it had so many echoes of the music that I listened to when I was a teenager in the 1970s. So I was actually listening to it the first time round, and some of that had got into your music, but some of it was completely new as well. So I wonder if you could talk about how Trembling Bells came together.
Sure. Well, in many ways I felt a little kind of locked in by traditional music. I was so precious about it and so infatuated by it. I was almost becoming a bit trapped by it, and I didn't quite know how to kind of transform that into something slightly more personal and creative. And then I started actually listening to Bob Dylan and realizing that he was using kind of motifs and melodies, lyrics from traditional folk songs, and then using them just as a launch pad for his own. He could like apply his own creativity to it. So that to me was actually pretty, kind of game changing. And so I just thought, you can kind of use this stuff. You don't just have to study it and be consumed by it. It can be kind of cannibalized into something that is reconciled with a lot of your other interests. So I guess inevitably that started to sound like Fairport. We always got compared to Fairport Convention, but that was just an inevitable kind of like gluing together of a lot of other interests, and then along with traditional folk, and then it kind of sounded a bit kind of folk rocky. But that was certainly never the kind of, it wasn't like a rehash of those conventions.
Because it was its own thing, wasn't it? It was its own unique sound, partly led by your vocals, I think, but also by the way the music was arranged.
Yeah, me and Alex worked together a lot on the first albums. At the time, Alex couldn't really. You were a singer, and you played the drums, but you weren't able to kind of translate your ideas onto the guitar. Or
I was terrible.
he wasn't terrible. He's a really good singer, I think. But back in the day, Alex would kind of hum me tunes and the lyrics, and then I'd say, well, what do you think about this chord or that chord? And I'd kind of do the arranging, the rudimentary arranging, and then we'd take it to the band, and then obviously their parts would come in, and then obviously I'd write out the parts for the fiddle or for trombones or whatever that was playing those arrangements. But they were very much led by you as well. You'd be saying, oh, can it go higher here or lower? You know, it was very much a kind of partnership.
It was kind of like Chinese whispers in some ways. Like I would have an initial kernel of an idea, and then by the time it's kind of filtered through from my mouth into Vinny's mouth, into the rest of the band's mouths, it sounded different and much richer and exploratory than I had initially thought. So it was a genuine collaboration in that sense.
I locked myself away in preparation for greatness. Oh, but still the world persists in its grinding dailiness. Now my mouth produces marvels behind a row of rotting teeth.
The image too was very important, wasn't it? The costumes that you wore,
Yeah, I wouldn't call them costumes.
clothes.
Clothes, yeah. I mean, that's kind of.
That's how we dress.
That's how. I mean, obviously, when you're on stage, you maybe are a little bit more flamboyant, but I'm certainly interested in that kind of fashion element. 70s revival fashion, and also people call it cottagecore, don't they, these days? I don't
But
know.
there were flowers
and
colours and
frills
dresses
and yeah.
flowing.
But I think
robes
that's important. I think that I don't know, anytime I've really been into a band, it's the music, but it's also something to do with what you imagine their life might be like, what you imagine their surroundings might be like.
And the bells roll ding dong, Christ enters God. I used to turn to Christ whenever things got so damn hard. Now my own mind is my church, complete with its own graveyard.
Well, we just stopped at a bit of an intersection here of different pathways, and we're away from the huts at the moment, but there's a spectacular view of the hills behind us. It's a really great vantage point, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is called Barney's Boulder, the rock right there. It's quite a kind of landmark in Carbeth, but as you say, there's this incredible view of this hill which is called Dumgoyne. I often think that whole range looks a bit like a kind of pterodactyl, kind of with Dumgoyne at its head. And right at the bottom of Dumgoyne is an incredible whiskey distillery called Glengoyne, which is my favourite whiskey.
And we passed quite a few huts. I've noticed that people are doing quite bespoke things on the outside. They decorate them, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I don't know if you can hear in the background some machinery operating, but there's always work going on to the huts. There's always people have generators, and they're always up fixing and building and adding. And
Yeah, it's the music of Carbeth, really, birdsong and chainsaws.
yeah, but yeah, people do personalise their huts.
And I wanted to talk to you a bit, Alex, about the question of identity, because you've made your last few albums under the name Alex Rex.
Oh yeah,
So I knew you first as Alex Nielsen.
yeah.
What is the Alex Rex identity, and why was that important to you?
Well, I became really interested in classical literature, like Greek tragedy and things like that. So I guess it was some kind of dipping my toe into that imagery. I read the Oedipus cycle, and I got a lot of inspiration for lyrics from those kind of ancient, very human kind of questions. And I guess I just really like the kind of idea of this kind of ancient, kind of cosmic, one-eyed, tyrannical law that seemed to exist back then, this kind of cosmic sense of justice. So yeah, that was kind of what inspired the early days of my kind of solo enterprise.
And is Alex Rex a different person from Alex Nielsen?
That's an interesting question. I guess,
Oh, there's a bus stop here, look.
yeah,
I don't think any buses come past,
No.
but somebody's planted a bus stop.
yeah, it might be a kind of a spaceship Yeah, it's an interesting question. I guess I really like the drama of like Dennis Potter, say, where it's a kind of confusion of autobiography and slightly kind of hallucinatory relationship to the environment, in his case the Forest of Dean that he grew up in, and where there's a kind of almost like autobiographical red herrings or collapsing trapdoors of personality within the material, and you're never quite sure who's kind of saying what, like what's a kind of admission from the writer or what's the narrative voice. And I guess just kind of playing with some of the blurring of these things is creatively interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like I also love like Ingmar Bergman, and so yeah, you're never quite sure what's a kind of open admission of biographical information or what's a kind of using it as creative lubrication. And he had this great quote that often stays with me, where he says, "I am both the tree and the axe." So he's kind of like using himself as a kind of testing ground for creative ideas. He's the subject and the thing that's kind of dissecting the subject.
My life's a film where I'm the hero, the stoic cowboy who pretends he wasn't shot, limping past wobbling scenery, wincing and waving to mechanical applause, but the credits roll and I am sitting in the director's chair of my own self-deceit, shouting cut in a dark room, and the dark shouts cut right back at me. Yeah, I've always felt I was living in a movie that costs $1 million, sprinkling my stardust like salt scattered on slugs. Easter Island with a huge granite head. I'm a spy swallowing instructions to fly to Greenland and kill the president. I'm an acrobat on a slack tightrope, was swinging from the bottle and wearing scarecrow clothes. But don't get me wrong, I'm a nice guy. I'm playing with the ghost of a puppy I've just drowned. I know this song is exposing, but the poet in me killed the gentleman. Now I've got to find him before he kills again.
And you've called the album The National Trust, which is an interesting set of layers to unpick, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because presumably you're not just referring to the large membership organisation that looks after stately homes.
Well, that's something that's very special to me because I do love that organisation. I'm a member of the organisation. So, yeah, it's to have something which has a kind of cultural depth, such as the National Trust. But then, yeah, it just seems like we're at a point of like national distrust. Like there's a lot of kind of political turbulence and things, and it feels like confidence in these institutions in a wider sense is quite precarious. But also, I guess you'll see with my cabin itself, I kind of wanted it to seem like a National Trust site, but that was kind of like curated by someone who was mentally unstable.
Right.
And I've got my like Sir John Soane bag here, who was an architect in the, I think like the Palladian kind of era. And he was a great kind of philanthropist as well, and his home in Lincoln's Inn Fields in Holborn is now kind of given over to the City of London as a free museum, so you can kind of go in there and see his collection of artifacts. He collected things from all over the world, particularly the ancient Greek and Roman world. And it's like, yeah, when you go in, it's almost like this kind of orgiastic sensory overload. And I guess I wanted my cabin to have something of that quality, where it was, again, like filtered through the mind of someone that wasn't completely reliable.
I'm looking forward to seeing it now. It's just along here, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one's got a rather nice stag's head on the outside of it.
Yeah.
A carving of a stag's head.
This is mine coming up here.
This is you here.
Yeah.
With the fish flying above
exactly.
it. So already it's a little bit on the surreal side.
Yeah, there's a Danish flag there. And these cats, and then the hut used to belong to my younger brother Alastair, who unfortunately died almost 8 years ago exactly.
How did that happen?
He had an aneurysm in his sleep, so yeah, it was very kind of unexpected, and
Oh, it's been incredibly shocking.
yeah, it's been a kind of catastrophic event that's really changed my life and my family's life. But yeah, this was his hut and his passion. So he would come up from Leeds on a weekend, and he couldn't drive, but he built quite a lot of extensions, and he didn't have any kind of building training or anything. So inside it's kind of a higgledy-piggledy, strange kind of chocolate box of different things.
And it still says Alastair's hut here on the sign with the roses painted on it.
Yeah, I've been Vinny actually painted that sign.
Yeah, I painted that a few years back. It's looking a bit tired now, but it was just a little plaque for the people to know whose hut it was.
And do you in a way regard this as a memorial to him?
Yeah, in some ways like a kind of living, evolving memorial, which is, in some ways it's, being here. And when I started to work on it maybe 4 years ago, it looked like a kind of haunted house. It was like none of us could have stand to come here for about 5 years after he died, and it was very exposed to the elements. And it was really kind of beyond repair in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
so.
I remember you very kindly let me come up here with Marco. We came up here for a night, for a date. And it was -6 outside, and at the time there was a fire. The fire was surrounded by kind of brick all the way around, so it didn't even give off very much heat, and it was freezing, but it was very romantic. It was beautiful, even though it was very cold. But the place was a different beast back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was falling down. It had the aspect of like a sad, neglected, kind of haunted place, and just being here and renovating it and moving in his image has been a great kind of healing thing for me personally, and slightly picking back the layers and then seeing the impression that he made on the place has been great. Like personally, kind of there's been a lot of kind of healing and regrowth.
Have you found it difficult to decide what to leave as it was that he had created and then what to change?
Yeah, certainly some of his personal objects, I've kind of grouped them together in almost like a kind of memorial way, but then some of the things have just been so kind of ravaged by time and weathering, so I kind of had to rip it out and start again in some ways. But yeah, it's a kind of like collaboration with him, I would say.
Maybe go in.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so just opening up the hut here. Has a pantomime creak to the door.
There's a doorbell as well here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess with the Trembling Bells and things, I was really obsessed with bell sounds and thought that in some ways that could be the great kind of synthesis of these things that I was trying to reconcile. Like a bell sound itself, the kind of harmonic, very unique kind of chime of each bell would tell me something about. Yeah, it didn't in the end, but.
And there's a fine metal elephant
Oh yeah.
up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of skip diving, reclaiming of things. As I say, I really like Sir John Soane's house and Derek Jarman's house and that kind of very personal way to decorate. So if we'll just go inside, we'll see the chainsaws and the screwdrivers.
Oh, there's another bell here.
So yeah, if you just watch your heads, because it's very higgledy-piggledy.
Oh, it's very cosy in here, but what sort of objects have you collected here? Can you tell us about some of the things that you've got?
Well, I really love stained glass and African masks and artwork by different people. There's a lot of original artwork and these tapestries.
I'm just trying to give a description, really, because you've got a stove here?
Yeah.
Is that connected to something, or is it just
No,
freestanding?
there's a gas bottle there.
There's a gas bottle in there, right. So, and the ceiling is very low, and it's painted in pale blue, and then next door is painted pink, and then you've got a wardrobe there, an old 1930s wardrobe, and a chest of drawers, and then a settle. It looks like a wooden settle there with some cushions on it in
monk's
pink.
bench kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, and all sorts of eclectic mixture of furniture and tapestries on the walls and blankets over the sofas. Just a really, I don't know, come out somehow inviting mixture of things. Do you find it like that, Lavinia?
I absolutely love it. I just feel like this place is Alex. It's all of his interests. It's a little bit like a museum to Alex. It really is.
Well, I guess, like I say, I wanted it to be like a National Trust property that was kind of inhabited by a psychopath.
But the funny thing is, I've seen a real change in you over the time that you've been working on this hut. Like your obsession with gardening and flowers and plants and chopping wood and chainsaws and all the things that are involved in keeping this place going have become your
I didn't know
focus.
the right way around to hold a hammer when I first took it on, so I've fast tracked my plate. Hammers would just turn into spaghetti in my hand. I really didn't know anything about it, and so it's been it's almost like the energy that I put into making music over the last 15 years has been just kind of transplanted into this, which is again like a synthesis of all my interests rather than just one.
We've got some plants growing in some abandoned loos out there as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think some lupins and some hydrangeas and things like that. So almost like kind of songwriting itself, it's forced me to kind of like look at the landscape and the things that people discard and things that people, the things I used to kind of put into songs were just like overheard conversations or snippets from films or fragments of poetry, and kind of gluing it all together through the force of my own personality. And it's almost like the same for the hut itself. I'm kind of looking at the fringe, like, scouring industrial estates for discarded objects and things like that can help me compose this place.
I can see it could go on forever.
Yep.
He said with a smile.
This is most of my younger brother's stuff here. And so,
on this kind of sideboard at the side.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And are there photographs of Alastair here?
There's a photograph of him right there, and him and my mum there. So yeah, this is a kind of like memorial to him. And there's a lot of musical equipment, and I've got my William Blake book and Naive art book here, and celebration of life in a way. I've got this ancient kind of miniature willow tree here, and anyone that visits, I like to try to get them to tie a ribbon around it and say something that they're grateful for, just as a little kind of gratitude tree. So would you guys as visitors here like to do that?
I'd love to do that, yeah. And I'm going to take that red ribbon and I'm going to tie it here around this branch and say how grateful I am for your music and for your company. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming.
So we come out through the trees now, and once again we're being exposed to a really rather spectacular view. What can we see through the trees there, Alex?
I think eventually you can see Ben Lomond, and there's Loch Lomond just over there. It's basically the start of the West Highland Way, if you know that kind of. It's like a 90-mile walk from basically here to Inverness, I think.
And you can see for miles today, can't you? Because the weather's very clear and there's only a little bit of cloud. And you can see the sort of shadows of the cloud on the mountains, which is always a glorious sight.
Yeah, and that hill particularly, that's the Campsie Hills there as well. And they kind of change complexion and change colour over the course of the day. It'll start out a kind of purple and go into this kind of very earthy colours. And that's one of the real kind of magical experiences of being here. Seeing how things change throughout the day, throughout the seasons, you feel very connected to that.
Can we sit on this bench?
Please do, yeah. This is my brother's memorial bench, so it's a very kind of special location for me and my family, and then to kind of see it. It says in a very kind of homemade way, Alastair's bench.
So it does. And I gather you have a song about him that you might sing here.
Yeah, it's called Smoke and Memory. I wrote it basically the same couple of days after he passed away. It was a very sudden kind of event, and for whatever reason it kind of unlocked quite a lot of creative reflection and that kind of thing. So I wrote a lot around that time. This is one of those songs. I thought I saw him from the kitchen window, come dancing down the garden like a fountain of smoke. All the smoke that cradled in his mouth, oh, give it all to me, and I'll build a statue of his face from smoke and memory. I thought I heard him on the ground my father stood. The birds are grieving in the trees deep in the bluebell wood. His name like bagpipe music in the universal key. I will write a song out of his name in smoke and memory. Lord, let me hold him before you call him home. I swear he saw your kingdom in the swirling canal foam. And if and when we meet again, please tell him this from me. We will drink and laugh and kiss and cry in smoke and memory. We will drink and laugh and kiss and cry in smoke and memory.
Alex, that's so moving to hear you sing that on Alastair's bench here.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you to sing it?
Yeah, it was quite emotional. I was trying to kind of fight back the tears a little bit, and yeah, it was the anniversary of his death like 2 days ago on the 30th of April. So yeah, it's all quite raw still in a way, and but yeah, beautiful to have that connection and hear the birds sing and see these views that he looked out upon, and so yeah, it makes me feel supercharged by his presence.
It feels a great privilege to have been here with you and to share his memory with you and to see the hut that you're curating on his behalf. Thank you so much for taking us on this extraordinary journey.
Yeah, it's my profound pleasure. Thanks so much for sharing it with me.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Folk on Foot as much as we enjoyed making it. There are over 60 episodes of Folk on Foot for you to explore, featuring amazing artists like Eliza Carthy, Johnny Flynn, The Unthanks, Corrine Polwood, Chris Drever, Sandra Kerr, Catherine Tickell and many, many more. So please do explore our back catalogue. And if you like what we do, we really need your support to keep going. You can become a member and get great rewards, or you can simply buy us a coffee. To do either, and to sign up for our ad-free version, just go to folkonfoot.com/support us. Every penny we get goes back into making more episodes, so please do support us if you can.